What is going on, wonderful people? I hope you're having a phenomenal day so far. In today's video, I'm going to be going behind the scenes with my 70s glam shoot with Deja, utilizing the Fujifilm GFX 102 and the Mitakon 65mm f1.4 lens. There was a lot of setup and preparation for this shoot, and I'm going to give you guys a lot of the detailed look behind the scenes on how I got the photos to look like this to looking like this. Starting with backdrop colors, I wanted to go ahead and incorporate those earthy 70s tones, so I want to use like a beige or brown, light brown backdrop like we have here in the video as Kia is setting up here. And on top of that, I'll explain these a little bit later in the video when I get to the gear portion. But on top of that, I have the streamer curtains, these like silver sparkly streamer curtains. I got them off Amazon for like $5. I'll link them in the description below, but they're super handy in terms of the kind of glowing, sparkly effect that I want as the video continues. Jumping into the gear aspect, so like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, I have the Fujifilm GFX 102 for this session. This is a super high megapixel camera. There wasn't a specific reason on why I used this camera. Just during the time of this shoot, I actually still had this on loan, so I was definitely going to utilize it. But my lens is the Mitakon 65mm f1.4 lens. And if you guys have watched my previous video where I shot Sydney and James, this lens is like the closest thing to film for the digital Fuji medium format. Reminds a lot of folks of sort of like that Pentax lens. But the whole gist of it is it gives you that soft look on your images. And I really thought that was going to help in terms of the aesthetic for this 70s glam shoot that I'm looking for. And on top of the Mitakon 65mm lens, I did incorporate a star filter. So this star filter is going to be adding a star-shaped effect on some of the heavier light sources that you see on the photos on the screen here, especially with the lights beaming onto these sparkly curtains in the background, right, that I incorporated earlier in the video. Now it gives you that beautiful star effect on a few of those areas that are heavily against a light source. So overall, it gives you more of that disco glam vibe for the images. Okay, so jumping into the lighting that we use for the shoot here, let me just pause the video so I don't go too fast on you guys and I give you visuals of what they are. We're gonna start with the first light that I have positioned behind Deja. This is going to be a pro photo light, bare bulb, but it has a orange gel on top of it. And again, I chose orange because keeping with that 70s color palette, I wanted to use more of those earthier tones like I mentioned earlier in the video. So I attached a orange gel on top of the pro photo light that is sitting behind Deja to kind of illuminate against the sparkly backdrop in the brown backdrop paper that we have. And on the top right hand side of your screen, you'll see another pro photo bare bulb light, but this has a yellow gel attached to it. The light is positioned at a 90-degree angle for the best use for lighting in this scenario. But the reason for this light is to fill in the shadows on Deja's face. And again, sticking with that 70s color palette, I just needed to incorporate colors that kind of mesh together. Brown, orange, yellow all fit within that time era. And that's why we have yellow on top of this bulb, this bare bulb light right here. And lastly, on the left-hand side, I have my key light here, which has a reflector attached to it. And on that reflector, I have a honeycomb grid, and that's used to kind of condense and control the light source within the area, so it knows exactly where that light needs to be hitting, and that is directly onto Deja as our key light. Just recapping, I have a bare bulb pro photo light positioned behind Deja, illuminating on the sparkly backdrop. On my top right-hand side, I have another bare bulb pro photo light with a yellow gel attached to it, just to fill in the shadows on her face. And then on the left side, I have my key light, which has a reflector and a honeycomb grid attached to it. There is one more step that we need to do in order to make these photos exactly how I envision them to be. I'm not going to go in and give the exact details on every section that I went on, but I will give a brief overview. Basically, the editing portion is the important part of this session, and not the blemishes or the other stuff like that, but more so achieving that exact color look that you want based off of all the work you put in with the lighting and the gels and the exact scene. I knew with the yellow gel filling the majority of Deja's shadows on her face that I was going to need to go in and warm up those colors just a little bit to match that 70s palette that I'm looking for. So all I did was go over to the color editor section and play around with some of the hues and the rest of the orange color palette section there. From there, I also went and played around with the midtones here, increased them quite a bit. And there you have it, gang. That is my setup for my 70s glam shoot with the Fujifilm GFX 102. I really love sessions like this because there's so much different preparations that go into it versus just snapping photos at will. And there's nothing wrong with that. I try to have a specific concept or theme for every session that I have, but more of the creative ones like this, it takes a lot of preparation in terms of the type of backdrop, the filters, the camera, lenses that you're using, the lighting, everything in general. So super fun to do things like this. It does take a lot of work, but I do plan on bringing a lot more of these to the channel this year. So as always, thank y'all for watching. I appreciate you as always. Make sure if you rock with the video to click that like button so we can push it through the algorithm, as well as click the subscribe button if you haven't yet so we can get closer to reaching our goal of 10,000 subs this year. And if you're already subscribed, I may not say this enough, but thank you. I appreciate you, and there's gonna be more great content to come. Thanks again, and I'll catch y'all in the next one. Peace.